Today we are going to build a business from scratch. Let's say you've had an idea that you've been wondering how to get off the ground, or you've already building something and you want to take it to the next level. I've been spending time with fellow founders from the Bay Area and from India, and kind of be keep brainstorming each other's businesses and how we could go to market better, how we could position our brands better, what would be our ideal customer profile or ICP, what could be possible differentiators for our offerings, so on and so forth. So let's do that. Somebody came up to me in a workshop recently and gave the idea of building a pen testing agent. So let's see how we would go about doing that. And as part of this exercise, we are going to extensively use a tool called NotebookLM from Google, which in one of my earlier videos I introduced very briefly. The beauty of NotebookLM, as we shall see, is that it is based on a technology called RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation. And so it grounds its answers in the source documents, in the reference documents. It therefore hallucinates very less. And the facts and statistics that it produces are often very reliable. So let's take a look. All of the prompts that I'm using today are part of the Google workshop document, which I will be sharing a link in the comments of this YouTube video. So let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is we basically want to collect three perspectives before we start building our app. So the idea that we want to explore is building an agentic AI app that does gray box penetration testing. So we're not looking at just red teaming at a broader level. We're going to try and solve a very specific problem, which is automate the gray box testing of web and mobile applications. And the first perspective we wanted to gather is from the user pain points and what their expectation would be from such an app. And then we will discover what industry or analyst reports say on this topic. Gray box testing is also called as DAST, as we all know. And then also from a competitor perspective, we'll name some key competitors and then ask it to discover more. And let's see where we get from here. So let's head over to NotebookLM. This is a really fascinating tool. In fact, some of the other stuff you'll see over here is super interesting to dive into. One of the notebooks that I saw recently was William Shakespeare's complete plays. So if you want to study that deeper, how to build a life. So one of my favorite authors is this guy called Arthur Brooks, and he talks a lot about your second version of life, right? Post 40s, once you've achieved a certain amount of your goals, and then what? This is great. Like, I will not explore it today, but you could go and ask it a lot of life critical questions and see what you get from the wisdom of this gentleman. Today, we are going to be a little more practical. We are going to create a new Notebook LM. Notebook LM can allow me to upload sources. Let's say I've been saving up documents, I have PDFs, I have notes, I can upload all of those. I can also discover sources. So let's paste our prompt and let's hit submit. It's going to gather about 10 sources. Most of the time I find that the sources are pretty accurate. So technical framework for penetration testing agentic AI systems from our own website, surprisingly, pleasantly surprised. This is not what we want. Essentially, we're not looking at testing of agentic AI systems. We're looking at building an multi-agent penetration testing AI for the web. Okay, this looks appropriate. Beginner's guide for web application testing. Okay, what is gray box testing? All of these look pretty. I don't think we need something from 2017. We don't need a sales document. We don't need, yeah, maybe customer feedback. Discover how. Okay, this sounds like a pretty generic document, but let's keep it there. We don't want a CH document. It can ingest YouTube videos as well. Yeah, let's keep the video on mobile application testing. It'll help us maybe build a feature list for the product. Agentic AI for cybersecurity. Yeah, sure. Comprehensive study. I don't think we need this. Maybe this asks if paper how automated AI code analysis. Okay, I think let's keep all of these sources, and then let's give our second prompt. Honestly, it's not. I would not say all of the sources were spot on. Okay, now let's look at staying with the same theme. Discover analyst reports, industry analysis, and the topics of gray box testing. Okay, now let's look at if we can get some intel from the likes of Gartner or Forrester or the others. If this publicly, you can check the copyright and see if you can add that as a source over here. The important part is that Google confirms it does not use any of this to train its Gemini model or any model. So yeah, I think these are pretty good. DAST market report, security testing. I think this output, I think this prompt was probably even more accurate. So maybe DAST is what we should have written in the first prompt. So that's fine. And then let's keep the dashed point in our third prompt when we are going to build in and others in the right. Let's also spell out the acronym. Okay, and okay, all right, let's add the third source of competitor features. Expo review features, pricing, pros, cons. All right, the future of security. We have collateral from Horizon, AI DAST, introduction to agentic AI. I think we added this already. Some Reddit threads, very interesting conversations, top 10 DAST tools. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Awesome. Okay, obviously, I'm not going to read these 50 plus sources, but now once it ingests all of this, which will give it some time to ingest, there might be some errors, some information is behind a paywall or requires a login, so that's fine. The interesting part is that from all of these sources, it can not only generate a summary, I can now start querying these sources of information using NotebookLM. I can also create a very, I think it's ingested. I can also create a very nice audio overview with which I can interact. So as the audio podcast kind of explains all of this content, I can start asking it questions. I can generate an explainer video. And if I have a team, I'm working with others, I can generate a briefing document. In fact, this briefing document will be relevant for us in a bit. I also use, by the way, NotebookLM if I'm studying deeper onto a particular topic. It will create study guides and FAQs for you, and also generate a very cool mind map. I don't think we need all of this right now. What we're going to do is, um, what are the key pain points of users when it comes to DAST? What would be the key features of a DAST tool that is built on agentic AI, which would help of an agentic. Okay, I hope my syntax doesn't confuse. Okay, let's look at what we get from here. The one thing that I also like to do is when I generate these artifacts, if I like the output of this artifact, I can add this back as a source document as well. So for example, if this briefing document, I eyeball it and it looks like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's speaking to what instinctively I was thinking along the same lines. um, you know, if it's on point essentially, then I would go back and add it as a source as well. Let's look at so users encounter several pain points, largely stemming from the complexities of modern applications. Sure, inherent limitations of traditional DAS methodologies. Agentic AI DAS tools aim to differentiate themselves. So traditional DAS struggle with complex architectures, missing business logic vulnerabilities. This is really the key, I believe. Testing APIs is also challenging, and now MCPs will be in the picture as well. High false positive rates, authentication session handling challenges. So we've not solved automation for DAST clearly so far, or that is an ongoing challenge for the security industry. And then, of course, the cost, complexity, resource intensive. Yeah, I mean, we work with half a dozen dash tools over the years, and just getting people trained on effectively using Burp Suite or Akinetics or NetSparker or Fortify, that is a project of its own. And clearly, there are professionals who would not have the right, we don't have enough people with the right training and skills on these tools. So I think this is pretty effective, um, you know, and I think from here, for example, what you could do next, and you can do this for your existing business as well, right? You can pull in artifacts, collaterals of your existing business. Again, pull in competitor reports, pull in Reddit, Quora information, and then do an analysis of where you stand versus where the market is heading, where the pain areas are, so on and so forth. And so now, what we could do possibly next is that we can actually start building some additional artifacts from here. So, for example, we can say, okay, also, if you like this, please save it to Note, because Google does not retain all of this information. It does not store all of this data. Once you move out of this notebook, this chat disappears. So if you like the output, save it as a note. Also, if you like the output, add it as convert to source. All right. So pull it back into your source documents. It just got added over here, and so that enriches your sources. And now you can go deeper, right? What would be the next steps to build a prototype and then a freemium version of such a tool? Assume, I think I can assume that um, we have a licensed copy of Burp Suite, because I don't think we want to get into like the core launching of the test and getting the results and stuff like that. And of course, Burp Suite has its own agentic AI capabilities, so we're kind of overlapping there. But I think we can lean on using a licensed copy of Burp Suite, which is not very expensive. It should not add a lot of cost to my overall offering. So let's see where we go from there. And then what I would also do is that I would take this briefing document, and then I can use multiple tools to create a pitch deck, a PRD for, and then I can use tools like Replit and Lovable to actually build those prototypes as well. So, okay. We're obviously not going to start building a product over here, but what we could do is that give me a prompt that I can feed into it to a super impressive pitch deck in the style of. Okay, let's see how far we get with this. And then what I have also done in the past is that I've taken like part of the answer over here, the um, the MVP requirements, and then try to solve just like one part of it. For example, in this case, I would probably build an agentic AI tool to detect SQL injection, for discussion's sake. Right? That's all that I would do. And I would just go with that and possibly um, do it using MCP. So I would go to uh, Claude and then ask it to create an MCP to detect SQL injections in vulnerable web applications. So I do have a prompt now. This unfortunately is not a precise gamma prompt, but I think it should work. ChatGPT does a better version of creating gamma prompts. So let's put this into a tool like Gamma. In fact, I could Gamma now allows you to create websites as well. So paste in your text and then let the magic happen. This is the format that Gamma likes actually, with those three dashes. I think we're just using the free version. I also like using Manus. Sometimes Manus does a great job of creating decks. So let's see if Manus can do this. Create a super impressive pitch deck that an investor compelling investor. Okay, your mileage may vary. Manus typically will ask me questions. Okay, so far it is not. You can of course use your favorite PowerPoint creation tool. The good news is that these statistics are all grounded in actual facts, because this is all coming from this briefing document, right? Which is coming from these sources. Yes, the assumption is that the information in these sources is accurate, but at least it's not hallucinating facts and statistics like LLMs very often do. Okay, it's done good research. It's not just taken that content and started creating a deck. Okay, let's look at Gamma's output. Proactive self-healing application security at machine scale. Wow, all the cool words are in there. Future of AppSec is autonomous. Yes, it is. Limited coverage, false positive. Very nice. Problem statement is introduced. Introducing our awesome agentic AI dash tool that does. This is very important for business logic testing. Integrates with existing tools, right? So if you have investments there, we'll just leverage that, which is always beneficial. Beyond scanning, from reactive scanners to proactive AI exploiters. Yeah, pretty cool. I like this deck. Now, if only we had an app that actually met all of these criteria, I'm sure we'd raise about 100 million on this deck, maybe 10 million. Okay, I think this works. Yeah, we're just looking to raise 2 million. I think that should be easy peasy. Um, let's wait and see. And while Manus is doing all this apparent heavy lifting, let's see if we can also generate a working website. So let's start a new project. Think I can just copy paste this here as well. Okay, we don't want a pitch deck. Of course, I can just go and go back to, I should probably do that. This is a prompt for give me a prompt to give Lovable to build a website. All right. Okay. Why take all the trouble to edit the prompt? Man is still at it. So far, this output on the right doesn't look very promising. Okay, no spelling mistake. Okay, this is from some link. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Let's take this prompt. There is some editing to be done here. Let me just make those changes. Gamma gave us a product name. Let's stick with that. Secure Agent. Pretty generic, yucky name, but and we can use AI obviously to come up with better names. Okay, let's go to our friends at Lovable. Go do your thing, guys. Manus should give me a notification when it's done. Manus is really putting in the effort, man. Gamma was like quick. Okay, pretty promising thinking. Oh, nice. Sentinel AI. At least the names are getting better. The content will be pretty much the same because it was all there in the prompt. So it's not going to come up with amazing content. I do not like these graphics. I can go back to Manus and keep asking it to change like a specific slide. Can edit it as well, of course. You can download this in PPT, PDF, convert to Google Slides. All those features are there. And then while all of this is happening, give me a prompt for Claude to create a very simple MCP prototype that, given a URL and test login credentials, and assuming it has access to Burp Suite, will crawl the website, discover potential SQL injection points, and then test those inputs for SQL injection. I think there should be a pretty good. And what I would do is I would. So sometimes, funnily, Google does not understand that MCP means Model Context Protocol. MCP app. Okay. So we're actually not going to build this app today. That would be for the next version. But let's see if it gave me a pretty good. You are an agentic AI operating specialized in the primary goal. Okay. 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 Pretty cool. Yes. All right. Awesome. And these are pretty lame SQL injection payloads, but okay, it's a prototype, right? So we'll build on this. Cool. So now I would actually go and give this to Claude and see what it comes up with. I would also give it to 2 or 3 other tools. If you like Cursor, you like Windsurf, play around with whatever you like, right? So it's actually building the app. 5 times, 6 times out of 10, the code basically just works as it is. The other times you have to uh, work with it. Okay, so we have the deck from our friend Manus. Okay, these images don't go with uh, this theme, so we'll have to kind of manually fix it. Core function, yeah, it's not as Gen Z or Gen Alpha as this deck. It's kind of more millennial, but kind of works. Yeah, there's some interesting workflow thingies which might impress people who don't know what they're looking at. Okay, cool. I think maybe combining the two would probably launch us, get us to the right app, deck. Sorry. Okay, let's look at Lovable has done its job. Okay, yeah. What? Preview? Yes. The future of AppSec is autonomous, proactive, self-healing. Start your free trial, request a demo, trusted by security teams, and da-da-da. Traditional Dash can't keep up. Not amazing. Better than something I would have built by hand for sure, from a template. It's okay. 70% of the way there, right? So anyway, the point was that we went from the start of the idea, which was here, to build a agentic AI pen testing application, and within about 30 minutes we've brainstormed the features, we figured out the pain points, we figured out what existing tools do, what they don't do. We've got a good briefing document of what our product should offer. We've created a couple of pitch decks, and we also created a fairly half decent website, I would say. And more importantly, we are on our way to building a prototype. So I hope you like that approach. As I said, using it with fellow founders has been extremely insightful and a lot of fun, a lot of learning. And in case you still don't believe in the power of this approach, for sure there's like awesome notebooks for you to explore on NotebookLM. Thank you for watching. And if you like this content, please share it with somebody who may benefit from it. Thank you.